welcome back to this week's installment of Green Enterprise, a partnership my company has digital venture partners with Black Enterprise, where every week we have a conversation with a Black cannabis executive or entrepreneur that I respect and I feel like is building their brand and representing our people in the right way and can give real comprehensive information on their journey. Today we have Grundy of the Peakz Co. He is one of the youngest and most successful entrepreneurs that you're going to see in the space right now. So I'm really honored to have you on to share your perspective, my brother. I would love to get your backstory on kind of what was your journey before you jumped into cannabis and what was your professional experience that kind of equipped you to make that leap into the cannabis space?
Originally I was kind of like a ventor, like a curator, kind of like I was always like, I was either hustling, with my friends or the money I was getting, I was trying to start like inventions. Like I have apps, shoes I tried to start, sunglasses. So like I've always been a really like, the end goal was always
serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
I'm the same way since I was like 10 years old, bro. I started selling candy in the 4th grade.
See, so you understand, like that's like, once you get in you, it's like you can't see yourself really just having a 9-to-5 job. You want to work for yourself. So I always really knew that that's where I wanted to be.
And so where are you based out of? Where did you grow up? And kind of what was that area's relationship with cannabis? Like, for example, I'm from the Deep South. I grew up in Alabama and Georgia. It's still heavily criminalized out here. You still see people getting locked up. You see people, not being able to get jobs because you still, they still consider cannabis a drug. So you may fail a drug test just because you consume cannabis. Kind of what was your experience with weed while you were growing up?
Weed, when I was growing up, we was getting in a lot of trouble for it for the most part. It was, I'm from Oakland, so the Bay Area is kind of a little way more liberal, but it's still, when I was going to high school in like the early 2010s, like the late 2000s, it's like it was still like police was tripping. They'll pull you over. They'll take your weed. They'll put you in the back of a police car, take your juvie, all type of stuff. So we was pretty much getting harassed for the plant. But we still was smoking. We didn't care. We was young kids. We still wanted to see what it was about. And most of my friends' parents smoked too. So it was already around us as young kids. So we was like, man, we're gonna do what we gonna do. But growing up in Oakland, I don't think kids really look at weed like bad. Like, so it's like, it's just another thing, we was raised on growing up. I got 5 on it, was like, you feel me? Was getting played at our barbecues and stuff. So we already knew what time it was.
Right. Where I'm from, my grandma, she saw you with weed, you might as well have cocaine in your pocket. You getting kicked out. But I would love to hear, like, what was your idea for when you came up with the Peakz? Because I was, doing my research on your brand before the conversation, I noticed that you've positioned it successfully as a luxury cannabis brand. So when you jumped into cannabis, what space did you really want to occupy with the brand, and how did you go about that?
Well, being from Oakland, people really will, feel me, they'll roast you if you're not coming with the best thing. So I wanted people where I'm from to, when I was really thinking really regional. So like I was thinking, okay, I'm in Oakland, I know people gonna support me. So if I put this out, it gotta be top shelf, because if it's not, then people gonna be really quick to be like, oh, Grundy, because everybody calls me by my last name back home. Oh, Grundy, he got that boo-boo, he out there, you feel me? They're gonna be real quick to roast me. So I'm like, I gotta come with the top shelf. So I was looking for a lot of cultivators, and then one day I just get a call from this guy named Fausto, and he showed me some great weed, and it was like, from there, me and him had a business relationship, and him like brokering, and I'm finding it, like, you feel me? So I definitely originally wanted a dispensary, because I feel like that's like the general thing we all think of when we first think of cannabis. But then I was thinking, like, it doesn't allow me to really use all my creativity like I want to. So then I was looking at like brands like Cookies. I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. Like, have my own brand and be able to put out different strands. And it's kind of like I'm back, you know, in the streets, like you the weed man. Like people coming every time they coming to you, they asking what you got new. So it's kind of like that. So I kind of play it. You feel me?
That's so. Over the past year, right? You being a brand and you operating independently in large part, you know, we've seen these large companies such as MedMen, such as Acreage, who tried to do too much at one time. They tried to touch every part of the plant at the same time, and I think it's been proven that that's not a sustainable business model. So on your end, what do you think that the effect of that has been on cannabis? So you think moving forward, you're going to see more brand focused entrepreneurs popping up, such as yourself?
Yeah, I think people are kind of learning from like people like me and different brands that like are like being successful, but like one man teams, or like right now my cousin here, like he helping me. So like you feel me, like it's like family oriented, like you feel me, everybody eat, and you know he right now he's getting his he in the process of getting his license. So like everybody, you know, it's like a movement because like the Oakland Equity Program really like is a dope thing. So people are seeing more and more. You don't need 100 employees. You don't need, like you said, you don't need to have a micro business. You don't need to have a cultivation, delivery, and you know a brand. Like you can do one thing and focus on it, and you know be great. And I feel like that's what like a lot of the best companies, they focus on one thing. You know what I mean? They're like Red Bull. Red Bull makes all the billions of dollars off one energy drink and just have different variations of it. You know what I mean? So including Bang, and like I kind of use like these because it's like cannabis is really like on its way towards being like national brands like that. So that's how I see it. And I think it's more valuable you having a national brand than you having a national store. Because if you look, you know, like that's where the money's at. Like, you know, it's the
And something
brand.
that you mentioned, and I would love for you to give a little bit more insight on to our viewers who may not know, what is social equity and kind of how is that program structured in Oakland for somebody who has never heard the term social equity?
Social equity is basically a program in various cities like Oakland, San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, that basically if you're from a certain part of the city and you live there for a certain amount of time, or if you had a cannabis conviction, and you have to also not make a certain amount of money. So if you meet those three requirements, then you'll be allowed to get your you'll be allowed to be a part of the social equity program in those various cities. And it allows you to like get some fees waived. In Oakland, you could get an incubator. So like they'll pay your rent. In return, they'll be able to get their license, different things like that. So the program is really like, if it wasn't for the program, I wouldn't be able to be as successful. Also, Oakland has a equity loan. They also have grants that they've been giving out. So yeah, definitely Oakland's, I feel like we're leading the way. So I think all the best equity programs right now are coming out of Oakland.
Yeah, I would agree. I think most states generally have failed in their social equity processes. They haven't really empowered people to actually not only enter the space, but to actually grow and sustain. I think a lot of
Exactly.
people come into it and they get a license and they're under equipped, they're under informed, and they end up losing that license, which makes the rest of us look bad to no fault of that
Mm-hmm.
person because they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. But if it's not really structured the right way, it can do more harm than good. But I do want to ask you about, you know, where you operate in, which is Oakland, which is, I feel like, the mecca of cannabis, you know, especially our
Definitely.
culture. You know, how do you successfully build a brand and sustain it in such a competitive city like Oakland or the Bay?
Well, I'm just a competitive person. I was raised like that. My dad was my coach, so you feel me. I was having somebody like that on you all the time, you know, playing sports and stuff. And then my mama competitive. My mama a businesswoman. She was an air traffic controller, so you feel me. She was manager, so I already got it in me, like to be like one of the like a boss in a system that you're not supposed to be a boss in. So, you know, she just retired and she did like 30 years. So like that's just in me to like be in spaces that I'm not supposed to be in and win. So that's how I just knew if I got in it, it was gonna be good. And like I'm doing really great, but the more and more funding I get, the more and more I'll be able to really play an even field. And everybody know once I get money, like I'm doing $1 million a year by myself.
Right.
Let me get $1 million in funding.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be scary. Everybody be scared of me. So people know I'm like a little sleeping giant. I'll be doing my thing. I'll be
Right.
chilling until it's my time to really,
Right. But
because
I
Kanye
think
needed Adidas. You feel
right.
me? So you feel me?
Right. I agree because I actually got turned on to your brand through Will from Magic Hour, because we got connected
Yep.
through this initiative we were doing with Hall of Flowers, where we tried to find 5 really strong equity brands that I felt like could represent minorities well, and
Mm-hmm.
continue to amplify you for the work you're already doing. My question that I had for you was, a lot of Black people don't understand the process of positioning yourself to get an investment, right? So you figured out a way to not have to wait on capital to come in and still build value and build brand awareness. So what's that process for you? How did you figure out to say, I'm not going to let a lack of capital hold me back and still go out and be able to generate $1 million for yourself?
I built really good relationships, and I think that's really key. And I got in the industry really early, so people were still getting their feet wet. And even though it's people with a lot of money, they don't allow people with a lot of money don't know how to market or they don't know how to sell, and that's my strong point. So when I didn't have money, I was going to farms like, well, do you have stuff that you can give me on consignment? I mean, is it stuff you need to be moved? I could put it in my packaging and I could get it gone. But I was only looking for the best of the best. So once I found like 2 companies, I just ran it up. I ran it up until the point where I didn't need their help no more. And then now I have the capital to do, to be able to buy stuff and lower the price and different things like that. Also, I was really big on social media. So even when I didn't have the funding and I didn't have the flower, I had just got licensed. I know I might as well start doing everything on social media now. So once I am operating, people already know who I am and I already got a base. I was even stealing people's pictures. I was doing whatever I had to do to make it pop, like getting the hottest girls to post pictures and this and that. And then, it just got big. It just really started blowing up, especially because it just like, it's not that many Black brands. So it was
Right.
once they seen it,
And
and
it's even fewer doing it the right way.
facts. And I'm young, so people instantly they kind of recognize with me, like, oh, I'm young too, like, oh, so they vibe. It's a vibe.
Okay. So being that you kind of, I don't want to say conquer, because I'm sure you still have room to grow and stuff you want to accomplish
Definitely.
in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
market, but are there any other states that you're excited about going into in the future, or new states that you would like to see legalized soon?
Yeah, I definitely did a license deal in Oklahoma, so Peakz will be in Oklahoma by the end of the year for sure. We already doing that. That's where my boy Tyler died. So shout out Tyler.
Touch on how licensing works, because I know that's
Oh,
something that isn't really explored yet in cannabis, but I see someone like yourself or Cookies does a really good job of figuring out how to
yeah,
license themselves into more markets without overextending their costs by partnering with people.
that's what I'm like. Peakz in California will always be 100% mine. It's gonna always be mine. But other places, except for probably whenever Georgia goes legal, I'm definitely going to
Right
own
there with
Peakz,
you.
Georgia. Definitely. I have the most, it's so many followers I have in Atlanta, it's crazy. Like, I would like to be able to license everywhere. Like, really, I want to be able to license not just in America, like Canada, Mexico, like all over, So like Europe, it's a big scene in Spain, Amsterdam. It's like I want to be worldwide. Like, cause now Peakz is becoming like, now people see the logo and they know exactly what it is. So it's like the brand awareness is really there, especially for cannabis. So yeah, I'm ready to take it up a notch. And then, like you said, with licensing, it's I'm not spreading myself thin, and I have a good lawyer who I went to school with, so I know I'm dictating what they can and can't do with my brand. You know, I still own all the rights. You know, I still gotta get a say so for any product that's going to go on the shelves with, you know, the Peakz image. So it's all about keeping control of your assets. You know what I mean? So I know we don't really learn about that too much, but we definitely gotta once you got your stuff, you gotta get a trademark. You gotta get your LLC, your DBA. You want to have everything lock and load just in case, you know, somebody try to come and try to take your stuff, because people will try to do it.
Right. And I also want, just for our viewers who may not be super well versed on the differences in markets, correct me if I'm wrong, Oklahoma's currently medical only, right? Um,
Medical only,
what's
but
the
they're really
difference? What's the difference in operating in a recreational state versus a medical state?
usually I would never do like a medical state, just because like it's not going to be as many people, you know, obviously, as if it's recreational. But Oklahoma has one of the easiest medical cannabis field. So like it's very easy to get prescribed to get cannabis. So they have one of the like they generate a lot of tax revenue out in Oklahoma. So it's a really good market for me. Um, and then with recreationals, anybody can get it as long as you're over the age of 21. So that's usually the markets I more, you know, kind of go towards, because then you have a lot more millennials, you got a lot more minorities and stuff like that when you have one that's recreational. So I kind of try to focus on those markets.
Okay. And then I want to pivot into a question that I get asked often, and I'm sure you get asked often also. You know, for the young Black person or brown person who comes up to you and be like, you know, man, I want to get into cannabis. I want to get my license. I want to do this or I want to do that. What advice do you give to young entrepreneurs who ask you how can they insert their talent into cannabis right now?
It just depends. If your city is already recreational or medical, I would look into the process on Google. You can find everything on Google, honestly. I will look into the process. I will look into the regulations, city and state. Find the easiest cities, the most liberal cities you can, because they're going to be the easiest cities to get your cannabis license. So go and find the most liberal cities. Um, Google the regulations so you know how to beat the system. Don't let them beat you. You got to know your regulations so um, you know, there'll be times where they'll try to mess with you, but if you know your regulations, is really nothing they can do. Is black and white. They got to go by that rule book. And it's always city and state, so you got to remember, it's not just, you can't just go on the state website and then go apply for a cannabis license. You have to go through your city first, and then you go through the state. So I would just recommend going through a liberal city, some with minorities, you know, trying to really help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Okay.
that
And then another thing that you're touching on that I don't think gets discussed often enough, let's say once you win a license or you're fortunate enough to acquire one, a lot of people have this false conception that they just immediately gonna become millionaires. People gonna be lined up outside to buy
yeah
their
yeah
weed. You know, what's that process of, you know, once you attain your license to maintain it and to also be profitable to where you can actually stay in business?
yeah keep I think it's about keeping your income. Like you shouldn't, all the income that's going in the first couple months should be going back in the company and trying to reinvest in it and making your brand better and better and better, and to the point where you have enough packaging and different things that you're going to need, that are little things you don't even think about. You're going to need all that, and you want everything to look great, because you're going to be playing with companies who are spending $100,000 million on packaging alone. So you're gonna have to be ready to stand out and do it in different ways, that's not just about money. So um, different things like that. It's about man, you just gotta really, really just find your niche and go towards it until, you know, you could play with the big boys. Because I think a lot of people come in it just trying to, like you said, like make $1 million, and it's just like more like You need to just focus on making sure your customers happy, interacting with your customers. Don't act like you too big. Like I see that a lot. Like people will post a picture and don't interact with one person on their picture, and then they be wondering why they don't have no brand loyalty. If you go through any one of my pictures, I've commented back on every single person that has ever commented on any picture, because it's like little stuff like that. Now I interact with you. When you see my stuff in the store, you're gonna you haven't interacted with any other brands. So are you gonna go buy their stuff, or you go buy my stuff who actually showed you love back? It's little stuff
they
like
have a
that.
relationship with you, right?
Exactly. So it's little things like that.
To pivot from the relationship with the consumer, how do you create these relationships with dispensaries and retailers to make them want to carry the Peakz?
Well, nowadays it's a little different. Before you just like kind of call and be like, hey, I'm about to come in. You'll bring in samples. Now they kind of want to know who you are. So like it's 2 years into it, almost 3. So like it's like some big dogs in here. So you got to find the dispensaries who more so focus on the mom and pop brands or the up and coming brands, because a lot of times people come in here and the first thing they want to do is get in cookies, get in Dr. Green Thumb, get in Spark, get in like all these big chains, and you gotta get popping, show like, oh, I'm carried at this store, it sells. Oh, like have something to back up your word, because a lot of times people come in it and they go for the highest number that they can try to get, and it's like, dude, nobody knows who you are. I could go get the same brand with brand loyalty, and they're gonna sell way faster. You see what I'm saying? So why would I buy your stuff at the same price as them? So you got to think about it from a buyer's point of view too. So
okay, and then lastly, my last question would be, where exactly is the Peakz? Where could customers find you in dispensaries currently, and like where do you plan on being in the future?
we in so many locations, like 60 or 70. So California Cannabis is Black owned, so I'm gonna say them first. California Cannabis in LA, they got 3 locations: Crenshaw, Soto, and Melrose. You can find us in almost all the Cookies locations. Spark, that's San Francisco and the North Bay. Barberry, Sunset, Eco Cannabis, which is like all about
Shout out to
equity.
Eco. Yeah.
And shout out to Eco, all about equity cannabis, and they really about what they say they're about. So I really respect Eco. Yeah, you can find us really in a lot of stores. We posted on our.
They were the first store to carry you guys, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Eco, the first store to carry us. Yep. So yeah, shout out to Eco. You could just find us on Instagram, the Peakz Co with a Z, Peakz with a Z, and we be posting where our new drops are. So.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that, bro. That's all I have for on my end. I really appreciate you coming on, offering your perspective, bro. Where can they follow you personally to kind of get insight on your story and to reach out to you if they have any questions?
You can reach out to me personally, G5 the Jet, G the number 5 THEJETT. But my Instagram lightweight wow, so don't be coming and expecting it to be what you get on Peakz, because I'm not conforming.
Right.
I'm a boy. I'm a real boy out here, man. I am not doing none of that little posturing or none of that suits or none of that. I'm really from East Oakland. I don't got to do that.
And I think that's what need to be represented in cannabis, because people like us is what popularized the plant anyway in the culture. Exactly. I don't want to buy weed from a dude in a suit. I feel like
and it's a lot of dudes who get in here who either didn't smoke weed and then they found out that it was profitable, Black included, and then want to profit off of it. And then there's other dudes who was making fun of the dudes like me who was selling and smoking weed, and they want to come up in here and try to act like they all cool. Right. That's why I be finding it funny, and that's why people mess with me more than all these. I love the equity company, so all the equity brands, I love them. But I'm the big dog, and that's how I feel. Right. You know what I mean?
No, bro, you put the work in, bro.
One more thing we got to plug: Black in Cannabis, the documentary. I'm funding, and me and my boy shooting. So look out for that. That's gonna be really good.
When do y'all plan on dropping?
End of the year. We're gonna say end of the year. It probably gonna come before that, but we talking to some big people to put some extra bit of money into this and make it excellence. We want Black excellence on camera. You know what I mean? Right. We want people to be excited about watching this. I don't want you to. We've already told the story a million times why Black. This is something I hope we get. Okay, we've told the story enough times about how Black people have been defeated by cannabis. We need to tell the story now about Black people being successful in cannabis, because that's going to lead to more people being successful in cannabis. So that's what the story that Black in Cannabis is telling, is going to be all successful Black entrepreneurs in cannabis, and it's our story. It's lit. That's what we're doing, because I'm tired of just the same story every time they want to just like Black trauma, and they feed us to it over and over. It's like, okay, I get it. Now show me somebody making it. And every time you see a post about like a white cannabis company, they're like, well, where are the Black people? Are we here? They just not trying to show us our story, so I got to put the money up for it. So that's what we're doing. Hey,
bro, I'm looking forward to it, man. We should definitely link up and see how we can more amplify and more widely deliver it, bro. But I appreciate the time, man. And I look forward to seeing your story, bro.
Hell yeah, appreciate you. Thank you for the time, bro. I really appreciate you.